Good evening, everyone. I have completed these two elephant books. I have an elephant junk journal and a smash book. Let's do the smash book first because that will be quicker. I think I can get through this quicker. Let me give you the measurements. It is 8 1/4 by 11 1/2. I already know that. I put about 29 pages in here plus some half pages, which you'll see there are 3 half pages. I wrapped some red printed scrapbook paper around the raw edge where I had taken the book apart, and I just glued this piece of braided trim here just for some decoration. I didn't do anything to the back. This is an eyewitness book, and here you can see all the other eyewitness books available. So whoever gets this, if you don't want this, you can cover it. I would sand it with an emery board and then glue something over it. But there are some cool books here. I thought this invention one would be fun for steampunk. But anyway, I found this at a flea market or thrift store or something. And it's all about elephants. So this is the original end paper, which I thought was awesome. So I left that there, and someone had stamped and written and then scribbled it out up here, put their name there and scribbled it out. So I put the book plate up there in the corner, and it is a map book plate that someone had sent me. So I thought that was pretty cool. Sorry I bumped the camera. So we have some double-sided papers in here, which I thought looked sort of tribal. I hope that it works. You know, I didn't have specific scrapbook paper for this. I just went through and picked out pages that I thought would work. This is from a magazine, and it was a thin page, so I just glued it to the white side of this page. I thought they looked like tropical flowers. This is a fun page from a craft book. Sorry about the glare. It's nighttime and I have a lamp, a desk lamp and a floor lamp shining from both sides to try to light this project up. This is a piece of manila. It's got a couple of little holes because this was from a binder. Apparently somebody sent me some sheets of this and I really love it. It's a little bit lighter weight than most file folders. And this is a adorable little elephant that I cut from a piece of fabric and just glued on there. This is another double-sided, but the other side is solid. It's just got a color. Here's one of the half pages. So this was one of the cutoffs of the sheets, and so I took 3 of these really pretty cutoffs and just stuck them in as a half page. So you can decorate them up, put pictures on them, glue stuff on it, whatever you want. And I added a tab, which I cut from some of the leftover paper. Here's one of the fly leaves, which of course matches the end paper, so I put both of them in there. This has the person's name, so I'm going to put some washi tape over that. I forgot to do that. I took a lot of the images from this book, and some of them were quite big. So I had a lot of fun playing with them. I cut him out, and I glued him to another cut-off piece of the cardstock paper and put it on as a pocket, and then I just put these 2 little Dumbo cards in it. It's French. This is from a different book about mammals, so there were a couple pages of elephants. So this book got one and the other book got one. And this was an animal that's not an elephant, so I took some lined paper. You can still see the animal through there in eland, E-L-A-N-D is what that was back there. So I put some lined paper there, and then on this half of the page it's an illustration from a children's storybook. Another double-sided paper with a solid side, and here's one of the elephants from this book. Is that on the front? Nope. So you still have room to write or glue things around this elephant. This is like an ombre page going from light to dark. This looks like a young elephant. Lots of elephant images there. Here's another scrapbook paper that I thought looked tribal. And this is another illustration from another children's storybook. And a piece of wallpaper border, which I thought was adorable. There's a baby elephant, or a young elephant, with his trunk raised. I thought he was cute. There's another half page with a tab. Now this, I left the caption here so you would understand that these are the mama elephants and the babies are taking their naps and the mamas are standing there casting shade over the babies. Isn't that sweet? So I fussy cut that out and glued it to a piece of cardstock, brown cardstock, and glued it on as a pocket, and included some of Elsie Bell's Bookshelves journaling cards from the Gentle Giant kit. I used that kit for the junk journal that I made, but I had some extra cards printed. That's a kind of a fun print there. Another book page. Now this doesn't have elephants on it. This was not from this elephant book. It was from a different book. But I left this. There's some African animals here. So you can cover that if you want to, or I just left it for you to do what you want. Some more tropical looking flowers. This is a page from, I think it was a Ranger Rick magazine. So I glued that to the back of that page. The other flyleaf. There's another cutout from the book that I just glued down, and you can journal around it. This was a kind of a funky page, but I thought it went well. I had to be creative in finding pages for this smash book. So there's another image that I fussy cut from the book, and this is a circle from the Elsie Bell's kit, and it's a great size. She probably sized it this way on purpose. It's great for these CD envelopes, and I thought I had a bunch of these, but I only found one. And I made it for the junk journal, but then it ended up being too big. It didn't really work very well in the junk journal, so the smash book gets it. So I did some stenciling on the white part here, and then just glued this elephant that's in the water. Can you see that? I know it's not a very good light for that. And on the back, I took some scraps and sewed them together with black thread, and then sewed down the center with decorative stitches just to make it look really cool. Just glued a piece on the flap, and then the card inside, I did a little stenciling in the corner, but it has various colors of mulberry paper and handmade paper glued on there, and then I stitched that on, and you can journal on the back. Another half page. Oh, there's a baby elephant. Isn't he cute? Now, when I was fussy cutting him out, I got to his chin, and I did not realize how hairy a baby elephant's chin was. And here's another large image that I glued onto some cardstock and glued on as a pocket. And I took a scrap of this paper and glued this image, which is a piece of art from probably an ancient culture. It's not new. And you can journal on the back of that card. I just glued some scraps on the edge there. And this is one of Elsie Bell's Bookshelves ephemera pieces. It's like a file folder, and it was kind of too wide for the journal, the junk journal, so I put it in here with a couple more cards. And there we go. So there's plenty of space in there. Like I said, 29 pages plus the 3 half pages. Okay, so this will be in my shop when you see this video. So let's take a look at the junk journal now. I did show a couple of videos on making this. So this was a lot of fun. It just had the title Elephant Walk and the silhouette of the elephant. And then I just decorated the rest because it was kind of a bland cover. So I added this piece of vintage trim and just little squares of fabric, and you'll see this motif throughout the journal with these squares of fabric being used as embellishments. And this really pretty green fabric on the spine. I use black stitching because I did a lot of sewing in here, and it's with black thread, and then some green grosgrain green ribbon along the edges. I put a vintage African map from a gazetteer book. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it's a big gazette. And it had lots of really cool maps. So I found the African map and put that in there, and I put the Indian map on the back end page because there are African elephants and Indian elephants in here. I took the spine of the book and Mod Podged it to that ombre cardstock and turned it into a bookmark. And there are the pages and elements from Elsie Bell's Bookshelves kit, which is called The Gentle Giant. I have some kind of rough paper tabs. This one isn't as rough as the other two, but I tore them. This was cut on the edges, but I tore here, and then I just decided to do tearing on all of them. And here's one of the circles that fits the CD cases. I think there might be 6 different circles. I can't remember. And one of her cards, and then this little children's card. This is an elephant bead charm that I made. So I had all 3 of them on these, but then I realized that this one is too close to the bottom. So I did find the bead charm. It had fallen off. But I found it, and then I decided it was too long to put here, so I just put a different one, and you might not even want that there. So I'm just going to leave it there, and you can take it off if you want to. Here's an element from the kit. This page is from the kit with lines for writing on. I did some stenciling on the pages. This is an image from my big book, and I tore a piece of patterned cardstock and put it on as a tuck spot. And then this is a page from a tiny golden book about why the elephant got spanked. There's an image here of elephants at the watering hole. I copy dyed this green paper. And some of the pages I just wrapped a strip of fabric around the edge. I did not want to use fabric flips or lace or trim or anything on the edges. And this has a spiral pattern, and you'll see some spirals throughout the book. I think this is from that Ranger Rick magazine. And there's a little tiny playing card of Jumbo the elephant, and you will see I had this same card in 2 different sizes with 2 different backs on them. They must have been in, 2 sets of cards that had the same images. And I put that on there with one of these clips. I don't know what they're called. There we go. I had a stencil. I got it out for the spiral. And then I used the spiral in several places, and I really liked it. But then I decided to go ahead and use some of these these are for journaling lines. So I took this one and repeated it on this page, so to give you some journaling lines there. One of Elizabeth's pages. And I did several stencils with several colors of ink on this page. And you can see little hints of that spiral. And here's from the mammal book. This is an elephant, a pygmy elephant. And here are some of the fabric squares that I mentioned, and I just stacked some together, sewed them together, and then glued it to the page. And there's an Asian elephant. Here's a piece of wallpaper that has an elephant on it. And I sewed a vintage elephant card to the back. Love that. This is from an elephant rummy set that I found at a flea market, and I absolutely loved the graphics on it. Another page from the kit. This journaling page has 2 stencils and 2 colors on it, but it kind of reminds me of a giraffe. And this is the side of the wallpaper that had the printing on it, so I put this note paper from the World Wildlife Foundation on it. So I had a tablet that had, I don't know, 5 or 6 sheets on it, so I used them. Here's a journaling card from the kit, and here's the other side with the stenciling with the spirals. So you can write something in that spiral to make it look really cool to follow that, or just write straight across it, whatever you want to do. And then here's some more of the fabric squares. I just sewed them down in a line there, and then I zigzagged down them and then sewed around them to catch the edges more, but I really like that decorative look. And then you can see it on the back. And I drew a spiral there. Instead of stenciling it, I just drew it, which is what it was intended for, to do on a scrapbook page. I made this card in a video where I made 3 different journaling cards or tags, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in this corner. It has 3 different mulberry papers glued to it, and this image is from an old stamp catalog before everything went digital and you ordered online and stuff. There's vintage paper on the back, and you can journal here, but what I did here was just take some embroidery floss and just do some stitches there, and I really liked the way that looked. And of course you have the stitching on the back too, so you have to write around that, but I really liked the way that looked, and I thought it added to the tribal elements. Here's another one of those notepads, and this is from a children's reader, an old primer. There's an image of a man on an elephant, and there's another image. I just had fun gluing these images down. And another page from that little tiny golden book. I did messy stitching on these back and forth just to make it look really messy. Here's another of the clusters. This was a fabulous postcard that someone had sent me. It was a used postcard, but she included it in a bunch of, in a Happy Mail. I think it was my friend Julie from Iowa. Was that you, Julie? I love this postcard, and I've been saving it. So I trimmed it down a bit because it was a big one, and just glued it there as a tuck spot. And this is an education card, but it has some elephants on it. It's about Mount Tanzania, or Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, sorry. It's got elephants on it, and there's a no elephant card there. I had a lot of fun using up my elephant cards that I've been saving. And here is one of the torn tabs that I talked about. It's got the elephant charm on it. I love this circle with the fabulous trees from Africa and the back end of the elephant. Here's a baby elephant, so cute. And here's another vintage playing card, children's card. This was from the book, and it's just a drawing of an elephant, 2 elephants on these circus stands. One is on his head and one is standing upright. Here's another Jumbo the elephant. That one is sewn on with the piece of fabric that is wrapped around. Here's another card. I believe someone sent this to me in a Happy Mail. It has Charlady Lil on the back, so this must be a old maid, but it has elephant there, so I put it in here. Love that. And here again we have this. It was this pyramid one, so I did it this way and then flipped it upside down and did it again there, so you can journal on those lines. And another cluster there. This is wallpaper with those African trees. Now this looks like it has messy stitching, black stitching all around the edges, so that goes with the style of stitching that I used in this journal. Another of the notepad papers. Had a little bit of residue of adhesive there. That's the other side of the wallpaper. And here's one of the other tags that I made in that crafting session on my video. It doesn't have an elephant on it, but it goes well with the book. It's just green cardstock that I cut into a tag shape. I used some corrugated cardstock, which I inked up. I just tied a piece of floss. I put an eyelet on it, tied floss through it with this little tiny tag, coffee dyed paper, and a square brad. And on the back there's a baby elephant card clipped onto it. This is Jimmy Jumbo. He's just glued on. Another page from the Golden Book. I keep thinking that this is a tuck spot, but it is printed. It's part of this paper. There's another cluster there. This is another art piece from that book, the elephant book, and this looks like it's made out of bronze or something like that, but it's quite a fancy elephant. I would say that came from India. And this is a page from the Golden Book. And the last signature, I just put this little charm on it because it's not as long. It doesn't hang down as much as, you can't even see it, it's in shadow. Doesn't hang down as much as the elephant charm. There's a pretty shabby chic elephant in silhouette. Here's a fun elephant card that came in a set of vintage cards. It had the chipmunk on the back. It was a set of animal cards. They were so adorable, but I put the elephant with my elephant collection so I wouldn't forget to include it. I bought those cards a couple of years ago. There's a baby elephant. This is also from that big elephant book. He kind of looks like Babar the elephant in those French storybooks. I don't know if it is. I don't think it is him, but that's what he reminds me of. And there's Jumbo the elephant again on a slightly larger card. And this one is this stencil that I did this way and then flipped it upside down to do again. This is a card. I only had one of these. I don't know where it came from. I think it came in a Happy Mail, but I'm not sure. And this is a piece of wallpaper. And then the final tag that I made in the video, it's actually a folder with a tag. So it's just folded cardstock. It has the handmade paper in the back with this image sewn on, and this is an embellishment piece from the kit. And inside, I just glued on some images from the book with some handmade paper again. And there's a fabric pocket here. I folded it over this way, out instead of in, and just sewed a decorative stitch on it. And this is a sketch of an elephant drawn by Rembrandt. I had sewn it on, or sewn around it so I could glue it on, but I sewed right across his trunk and I didn't like the way it looked. So I took all the stitching out, but then it looked too plain. So I decided to sew all the way around again, but I stopped here and here so his trunk is free and clear. And here's a tag I made with a stamped quote, and I covered up the P in the word proceed with this embellishment, but I stamped P on the cork. There's a couple pieces of fiber in there. So this was a really fun little folder, tag folder to make. Here's another illustration from a children's primer. Now the notepad has the elephant and baby at the bottom, but this didn't look right being up here, so I cut the bottom of that off and just rearranged it. Here's a picture from the book of an elephant stretching high up to get what he wants to eat. This was sent to me by someone who knew I was collecting elephant pieces, and it was on a really thick card. It was a large domino game. So I peeled it off and stitched it to this cardstock, but then I had the other side of the card, which is so cute with those colored dots. And I actually peeled that really thin, so all it was a layer of the paper. It didn't have any chipboard left on it. It's a little crinkled, but I sewed it right to a piece of cardstock so it's ready to use in another journal. So I got 2 cards out of 1 from that, but I thought that was cute. We're almost done. Another cluster there. This came from a little children's book. I didn't trim much off of that page. It was just a small little book. And this came from Germany, from my friend Pirio. So it's got some German words here. But he's adorable. And look at the bristle on his chin, just like in the picture that I had to cut around. And there's another of the Go Fish cards. And here is the Indian map. And that is the book. So I'll have the Smash book and this one in my shop when the video goes up. Also included with these books are going to be all the leftovers. I have a piece of wallpaper. I don't know what is going to go with which book at this point, but it has a zebra on it, and this is part of a lion. But all of the cut off scraps, I'll divide them up. And there's quite a few, so you can make embellishments with these, and use them in a different journal if you want. I have a couple little cards left over, and a couple pages from that little golden book, and some images that I cut from the book. Each book can get one of these because I had 2 left. Oh, I have 3 left. I cut some tabs out from the leftover paper, so you'll get some tabs. There's the cover of that little golden book. Some more elephant images. So I had quite a bit left over, and I will just divide it up and put it with each journal. Some small, I won't put the big pieces with the junk journal because they won't fit in there, but you'll get some small ones. And then I had some of the printable pieces left. And I might go ahead and stick some of those in some of the pockets. And some of the, these are all from the kit. And then I had some of the shabby chic elephants left too. I don't even know where I got those. I don't remember. So you'll get a large ephemera set with the journal or the Smash book. Whichever one you order, it will come with a lot of embellishment pieces. So that does it for me for these books. I really had fun making them. It was something quite different for me to work on, and I really enjoyed stretching my creativity making these with the elements that I had without going shopping for specific fabrics or trims or stencils or stamps or anything. I just used what I had, and it was fun. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you will enjoy whatever the next project brings. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.